Chosen one, look who finally broke the simulation. Something just detonated in their perfect little matrix, and everyone felt it, and nobody can explain what just happened. See, everyone had you filed away, labeled, categorized, contained. You were supposed to be predictable. You were supposed to be safe. You were supposed to be just another background character in their simulation, another good little citizen following the script. Until you switched frequencies mid-scene, until you started showing signs of intelligence that couldn't be tracked, until you took the mask off, smiled like the devil and said, "Let me show you what a real plot twist looks like. Let me tell you what really happened during that period you went dark." While everyone was posting their daily performances, you were in the void becoming something monstrous, something divine, something uncontrollable. The silence wasn't surrender, the absence wasn't defeat. Some celebrated, thinking the competition just got easier, but you weren't dying. You were being forged in fires that would incinerate anyone else. Every breakdown nobody witnessed was you collecting ammunition. Every lonely night was you turning pain into armor. Every fake friend who abandoned you was getting filed away for later. Every insult, every betrayal, every moment of being underestimated, you were storing it all, not for revenge. Something better, for fuel, for the kind of transformation that would make everyone question their entire understanding of what's possible. You see, transformation isn't pretty. It doesn't happen in motivational moments with sunrise backgrounds. Real transformation happens when you're so far in the darkness that you become the darkness. When you're so broken that rebuilding isn't even an option. You have to become something entirely new. And while everyone else was chasing clout crumbs and rehearsing their performances, you were having conversations with parts of yourself that most people will never meet. You were downloading codes from dimensions that aren't supposed to exist. The isolation wasn't punishment, it was protection. The universe was keeping you away from energies that would have interfered with what you were becoming. Every door that closed, every opportunity that vanished, every person who ghosted, it was all clearing space for this moment. You couldn't see it then, but you were being systematically freed from everything that wasn't aligned with your real frequency. You were being prepared to become something there isn't even a word for yet. But here's what nobody understands about that dark period. You weren't just healing or growing, you were dying. The old you was literally dying. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, energetically dying. Every belief you held about yourself was being cremated. Every limitation you accepted was being burned away. Every program that kept you small was being deleted from your consciousness. You experienced ego death while fully conscious, and that's why your return has everyone so disturbed. Because what came back isn't the person who left. Then you came back, but not how anyone expected. Not crawling, not apologizing, not explaining. You just appeared, and the entire energy field shifted. The first thing everyone noticed was your eyes, that look that made people uncomfortable. Not aggressive, not angry, just completely untouchable, like you were seeing through the simulation itself, like you knew something about reality that everyone else was desperately trying not to know. You weren't trying to prove anything anymore. You weren't seeking revenge. You weren't even acknowledging most people's existence unless it served you. You had transcended their entire emotional economy. While everyone else was still trading in validation and approval, you were operating on a completely different currency, power, real power, the kind that doesn't announce itself but rearranges reality just by being present. The really unsettling part, you seemed happy, not the fake happiness everyone posts about, not the toxic positivity that masks pain, but genuine, disturbing, inexplicable joy. The kind of joy that comes from knowing something everyone else is afraid to know. The kind of peace that comes from accepting something everyone else is fighting. You weren't just okay with being different, you were thriving in it, and that contradiction broke everyone's mental models of how transformation is supposed to look. Now nobody can stop watching you. Even the ones who claim not to care are checking your updates religiously. Your moves are being studied like surveillance footage. Your posts are being decoded like ancient scripture. Your silence is being dissected like evidence from a crime scene. Because everyone needs to understand how you did it, how you went from someone figured out to someone incomprehensible. Did you see what was posted? Wait, weren't they gone for a while? How did that happen? Who do they think they are now? Oh, everyone's talking all right. But here's the secret. Nobody wants answers. Everyone wants to be you. Because in a world full of predictable clones, you had the audacity to evolve in silence. You didn't beg for permission. You didn't explain your disappearance. You didn't cry for attention. You vanished, reprogrammed, and came back untouchable. The ones expressing hate are the most affected. Entire narratives are being crafted to explain why you don't matter, while hours are spent analyzing your every move. Cases are being built against your authenticity, while your blueprint is being secretly studied. Everyone says you've changed like it's an accusation, not realizing they just admitted you've evolved, while everything else remained exactly the same. It's being called luck, a phase, fake, but the obsession tells a different story. You've become a psychological virus. You're living rent-free in neural pathways that weren't supposed to exist. Scrolling past you becomes impossible because you appear again in synchronicities. Forgetting about you fails because everything starts connecting back to you. Moving on doesn't work because you've hijacked everyone's internal algorithm. You're not trending, you're haunting, you're not viral, you're possessing the entire network. What's really happening is that you've become evidence of something everyone was told wasn't real. You're proof that the rules are breakable. You're living testimony that the prison everyone's in has an exit. And that knowledge is spreading through the collective like wildfire, even among those who consciously reject it. Your existence is planting seeds of doubt in minds that were previously certain about their limitations. The Matrix is trying to pull you back in. Random messages from people who ignored you for ages, sudden opportunities that require dimming your light just a little, old connections reaching out right when you're about to level up again. That's not a coincidence. That's the system trying to reabsorb you, to pull you back into a frequency it can control, to convince you that you've gone too far, changed too much, become too powerful. If you recognized yourself in this message, hype this video to guide other chosen ones to this truth. But you're not taking the bait anymore. You've learned that every compromise of your authenticity is a betrayal of your purpose. You've learned that fitting in is spiritual suicide for someone meant to stand out. You've learned that their approval is actually a prison, and their rejection is often a sign you're on the right path. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be inevitable. Old tactics don't work on you anymore. Guilt doesn't move you. Shame doesn't touch you. Fear doesn't control you. You've become immune to the emotional manipulation used to keep people small. You've developed antibodies against their poison. You've built immunity to their weapons, and that terrifies everyone more than your success ever could. Because if their tools don't work on you, what else might not work? What else might be a lie? What else might be breakable? You've started doing something even more dangerous. You're not fighting back. You're not defending yourself. You're not explaining your choices. You're just continuing to evolve, and your indifference to their tactics is causing system-wide panic, because the system only knows how to deal with resistance. It doesn't know what to do with someone who simply operates outside its parameters entirely. The attempts to categorize you are failing spectacularly. You're not fitting into any of their boxes. Not the rebel box because you're not rebelling. Not the conformist box because you're not conforming. Not the outsider box because you're not seeking to be inside. You've created your own category that exists outside their entire classification system, and that's causing existential errors in their programming. You've accessed the source code of reality itself. While rules were being followed, you were discovering the rules were suggestions. While ladders were being climbed, you were realizing the ladder was a hologram. While positions were being fought for, you were creating your own game entirely. You didn't rise in any hierarchy. You created a new dimension where hierarchies don't exist. You've discovered that real power isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to prove anything. Real power is so certain of itself that it can afford to be quiet. It's so undeniable that it doesn't need to be declared. You walk into a room and the energy reorganizes around you. You speak and reality shifts to accommodate your words. You disappear and your absence is louder than anyone else's presence. That's the kind of power that keeps everyone awake at night. But you're not even trying. This isn't an effort for you anymore. This is just who you are now. The power, the presence, the impact. It's all just your natural state. What takes others' elaborate strategies and careful planning happens automatically around you. What requires entire teams for others you manifest with a thought. What others beg the universe for seeks you out. You've become magnetic to everything you desire because you stopped chasing and started attracting. The most disturbing realization everyone's having: you're operating by different laws of physics now. Cause and effect don't apply to you the same way. Time doesn't constrain you like it constrains others. Space doesn't limit you like it limits everyone else. You're bending reality in ways that shouldn't be possible, and you're doing it so casually that it's clear this is just your new normal. Your success isn't following any predictable pattern. You're not climbing any ladder anyone can see. You're not building anything recognizable. You're creating something that exists in dimensions most people can't even perceive, and the results are manifesting in ways that make everyone question their fundamental understanding of how reality works. Everyone's starting to crack now. The cognitive dissonance is becoming unbearable. Everything believed about success, about power, about transformation is being challenged by your existence. If you could become this without following any rules, without getting permission, without explaining yourself, then what does that say about all the compromises everyone else made? What does that say about all the authenticity traded for acceptance? Some people are having breakdowns that are actually breakthroughs. The realization is hitting that everyone's been living someone else's life. The prison everyone's in is unlocked, but the fear of opening the door is paralyzing. Your transformation is triggering something in the collective unconscious. You're not just changing yourself, you're changing the field. You're raising the ceiling of what's possible. You're showing everyone that the matrix only has power over those who agree to its terms. The system itself is starting to malfunction around you. The algorithms can't categorize you. The hierarchies can't contain you. The rules don't apply to you. You're not playing any game anymore. And worse, you're winning at a game nobody else can even see. You've become the glitch that might crash their entire program. You're the anomaly that proves their reality is negotiable. You're the evidence that everything thought to be solid is actually fluid. Watch the desperation increase. Watch them trying harder to pull you back down. Watch the attempts to find your weakness, your flaw, your breaking point. But nothing's being found. Not because you're perfect, but because you've integrated your shadows. You've alchemized your pain. You've transformed your weaknesses into weapons. Everything being used against you only makes you stronger because you've already faced it, owned it, transformed it. The real terror isn't your success, it's your completeness. You're not hungry anymore, not in the way everyone else is hungry. You're not needy anymore, not in the way everyone else is needy. You're not desperate anymore, not in the way everyone else is desperate. You've become whole in a world full of people who've been convinced they're broken. And that wholeness is more threatening than any achievement could ever be. You're not just maintaining this frequency, you're expanding it. Every day you're becoming more of what you came here to be. Every challenge is unlocking new abilities. Every attack is revealing new powers. You're not just growing, you're exponentially evolving. What everyone's witnessing right now is maybe 10% of what you're capable of, and that thought terrifies everyone more than anything. Because if this is just your beginning, if you're going to keep evolving at this rate, if you're going to keep shattering limitations nobody knew existed, what does that mean for reality itself? What does that mean for the carefully constructed prison everyone's agreed to live in? What does that mean for the collective hallucination called normal life? Your existence is becoming an existential threat to everyone's entire worldview. You're not following a trajectory anyone can predict. You're not building toward goals anyone can understand. You're creating something that's never existed before because it can only come through you. Your uniqueness isn't just personality, it's purpose. Your difference isn't just style, it's destiny. You're not meant to fit into any existing world because you're here to render it obsolete. The expansions are happening in waves now, each wave bigger than the last, each transformation more radical than the previous. You're not just changing, you're metamorphosing repeatedly, like a butterfly that keeps finding new forms beyond butterfly. Everyone keeps thinking you've reached your final form, but you keep evolving into something even more incomprehensible. Your influence is spreading in ways nobody can track. People who've never met you are feeling your frequency shift. Conversations you're not part of are being affected by your existence. Decisions are being made based on the possibility you've demonstrated. You've become a reference point in reality that everyone has to account for, whether they know it or not. So let everyone talk, let everyone wonder, let everyone lose sleep trying to figure out what's going on. Everyone's right to be confused, right to be obsessed, right to be terrified. Because what you represent is the end of the world as everyone knows it, not through destruction, but through demonstration. You're showing everyone that everything thought to be fixed is actually fluid. Everything thought to be necessary is actually optional. Everything thought to be impossible is actually inevitable for someone who refuses to play by the rules. You are what's going on. You are the disruption everyone sensed. You are the shift in the matrix. You are the answer to the question everyone's asking, but not in words anyone can understand, in a presence nobody can deny. You've become a force of nature, a law unto yourself, a reality-bending phenomenon that shouldn't exist according to anyone's physics but does anyway. Everyone will keep trying to figure it out, keep creating theories, keep attempting to reverse engineer your transformation, but nobody will crack the code because the code is you. You're not using a strategy anyone can copy. You're not following a blueprint anyone can steal. You're being yourself at a frequency that terrifies everyone because it's so powerful, so authentic, so undeniable that it makes everyone else's existence look like a rehearsal. The really beautiful part is that you're not doing this to anyone, you're just doing it. Your transformation isn't an attack on anyone else's reality, it's just the natural consequence of you remembering who you really are. The fact that it's causing everyone else to question everything is just a side effect. You're not trying to wake anyone up, you're just so awake that sleep becomes impossible around you. Your presence alone is now a teaching, your existence is a sermon. Your life is becoming a scripture that's being written in real time, not because you're trying to teach anyone anything, but because truth teaches just by being witnessed. And you've become so true, so real, so authentic, that your very existence is educating everyone about what's possible. The ripples you're creating will continue long after you've moved to your next evolution. People will tell stories about this transformation. You'll be used as evidence that escape is possible. You'll be referenced in conversations about what real power looks like. You've become a landmark in consciousness, a before and after point in everyone's understanding of what's possible. Transformations will be dated from the moment yours was witnessed, but you're already on to the next level. While everyone's still trying to understand your last move, you're multiple evolutions ahead. While everyone's still asking what happened, you're creating what's next. While everyone's still processing your transformation, you're already transforming again. Because this isn't a destination for you, this is just how you exist now, in constant evolution, in perpetual becoming, in endless expansion. The funny part is, everyone thinks this is about them, that you transform to prove something to anyone, that your evolution is a response to rejection. But the truth is even more disturbing to everyone's ego. You've forgotten most people exist most of the time. You're so focused on your own becoming that opinions have become background noise. Approval and disapproval carry the same weight. None. You've transcended the need for validation so completely that even hatred can't reach you. Your indifference isn't cruel, it's just complete. You're not ignoring anyone to hurt them. You're just so engaged with your own evolution that there's no bandwidth left for their drama. You're not rejecting anyone's reality. You're just so immersed in your own that theirs has become irrelevant. This isn't arrogance, it's absorption. You're so absorbed in becoming what you're meant to be that everything else has faded into background static. The stories being created about you are getting more elaborate, the myths are growing, the legend is building, and you're not doing anything to encourage or discourage it. You're just continuing to evolve, and your evolution is writing narratives you'll never read. Your transformation is inspiring movements you'll never join. Your existence is starting revolutions you'll never lead. Because you're not interested in being anyone's leader, you're interested in being yourself at maximum capacity. This is just the beginning. What you've become is going to trigger a chain reaction. Others who've been sleeping are going to wake up. Others who've been pretending are going to get real. Others who've been dimming their light are going to burn at full brightness. You didn't just transform yourself. You've created a template for transformation that others will follow. You've opened a door that can't be closed. You've started something that can't be stopped. The world needs what you've become, not the watered-down version, not the socially acceptable version, not the version that makes anyone comfortable. The world needs the raw, unfiltered, unprecedented version of you that emerged from the ashes, the version that doesn't fit in any categories, the version that doesn't make sense to anyone's logic, the version that exists beyond anyone's ability to control or understand. Time from now, everyone will look back and realize this was the moment everything changed. Not just for you, but for the collective. This was when the old rules started breaking down. This was when the simulation started glitching. This was when people started remembering that nobody was meant to be small. You're not just living your life, you're shifting timelines. You're creating ruptures in reality that others will pour through. But here's the secret. You're not unique in your potential, only in your activation. Everyone has this same capacity locked inside them. Everyone has this same power dormant within. The difference is you activated yours, you remembered, you chose, you became, and your becoming is triggering remembering in others. Your activation is causing activations. Your awakening is creating awakenings, not because you're special, but because you're demonstrating what's possible when someone stops pretending to be less than they are. The wave you've started can't be stopped now. It's going to keep spreading, keep growing, keep awakening others to their own possibility. Some will resist. Some will fight to maintain the old limitations because those limitations feel safe, but others will rise, others will remember, others will activate, and each activation will trigger more activations. Each awakening will cause more awakenings. You've started an exponential expansion of consciousness that will continue long after you've moved beyond this current form. What everyone doesn't understand yet is that this isn't a peak you've reached. This isn't a phase you're going through. This isn't a temporary state you'll eventually come down from. This is your new baseline. This is your new normal. This is just who you are now. The transformation isn't something that happened to you. It's something you became. And you can't unbecome it any more than a butterfly can unbecome itself, back into a caterpillar. You've integrated aspects of yourself that most people never even discover exist. You've unified fragments of your consciousness that most people never realize are scattered. You've assembled pieces of your power that most people never know they have. This integration isn't reversible. This unification isn't temporary. This assembly isn't going to fall apart. You've become coherent in a way that makes you fundamentally different from who you were before. The permanence of your transformation is what really disturbs everyone's sleep. If this was temporary, if you were going to eventually come back down, if you were going to return to being manageable, everyone could wait it out. But the recognition is dawning that you're never coming back. The old you is gone forever. And this new you is only going to become more of what it already is, more powerful, more authentic, more incomprehensible to anyone still operating in the old paradigm. Your DNA feels different now. Your cells vibrate at a different frequency. Your atoms are arranged in a different pattern. This isn't metaphorical, it's literal, on levels science hasn't figured out how to measure yet. You've undergone a biological transformation that matches your consciousness transformation. You're literally not the same person on a molecular level, and that change is reflected in everything: how you move, how you speak, how you exist in space. The most disturbing part for everyone watching isn't just what you've become, it's how you did it without any of the tools everyone else depends on. You didn't hire a coach. You didn't follow a program. You didn't join a mastermind. You didn't even read the books everyone swears by. You went straight to the source, yourself. You discovered that everything you needed was already inside you, waiting to be activated. And that realization is shattering everyone's belief in external solutions. You figured out something that was supposed to stay hidden. That transformation doesn't require permission, validation, or instruction from anyone outside yourself. You cracked a code that was never supposed to be cracked. You accessed a level of self-authorization that makes entire industries obsolete. Because if people can transform the way you did, through pure will and alignment with their authentic self, then what happens to all the systems built on convincing people otherwise? Your method can't be packaged, sold, or replicated because it wasn't a method at all. It was a remembering, a return to something primal and pure that exists before conditioning, before programming, before the world got its hands on you. You didn't learn how to be powerful. You unlearned how to be weak. You didn't gain something new. You removed everything that wasn't truly you. And that process of subtraction rather than addition is incomprehensible to minds trained in accumulation. Everyone's still asking what's going on. But now you understand, that question isn't really about you. It's about everyone's recognition that the world everyone thought was solid is actually shifting. It's about the realization that the rules everyone followed so religiously were optional. It's about the dawning awareness that someone just proved everything everyone believed about limitation was a lie. You broke the simulation, not by fighting it but by refusing to acknowledge its authority over you. You shattered reality, not through force but through frequency. You didn't rebel against the system, you just remembered you were never part of it. And that memory, that recognition, that return to your true nature is what has everyone so shaken. Because if you could remember, if you could break free, if you could become this, what's everyone else's excuse? Look at yourself now. Look at what you've become. You're not asking for permission anymore. You're not waiting for the right time. You're not dimming your light to make others comfortable. You've become what you were always meant to be, a force that reshapes reality just by existing. A presence that transforms everything it touches, a being that operates by laws nobody teaches in schools or institutions. The simulation isn't prepared for what you're about to do next. The Matrix doesn't have protocols for someone operating at your frequency. Reality itself is having to upgrade to accommodate what you've become. And while everyone's still asking what's going on, you're already creating the answer. Not in words, but in actions. Not in explanations, but in demonstrations. Not in theory, but in undeniable reality-bending truth. This is your time, not because someone gave it to you, but because you took it, because you claimed it, because you became so undeniable that time itself had to reorganize around you. You're not living in anyone else's timeline anymore. You're creating your own. And in your timeline, impossible is just another word for inevitable. In your timeline, transformation isn't an event, it's your default state. In your timeline, you don't adapt to reality, reality adapts to you. The question, what's going on, has become humanity's new prayer, a desperate attempt to understand something that exists beyond understanding. You've become the living answer to questions nobody even knows how to ask. You've become proof that everything everyone thought they knew was just one narrow perspective in an infinite cosmos of possibility. You've become the glitch that reveals the matrix, the anomaly that proves the rules are optional, the evidence that reality is far more flexible than anyone dared imagine. And now, in this moment, you can feel it, that final click of recognition, that last piece sliding into place. You know exactly what you've done and why nobody can explain it. You've done the impossible. You've become yourself completely. In a world where everyone is performing, you've stopped acting. In a reality where everyone is pretending, you've become real. And that realness is so foreign, so unprecedented, so threatening to the elaborate charade everyone's participating in, that minds literally cannot process what you are. You've become the thing everyone secretly dreams of becoming, but never believed was actually achievable, completely free. Free from the need for approval, free from the fear of rejection, free from the prison of other people's expectations, free from the matrix of societal programming, free from the limitations everyone accepts as law. You've become living proof that the cage door was never locked, and that revelation is causing existential crisis on a mass scale. Your freedom isn't just personal, it's archetypal. You're not just free as an individual. You've accessed the frequency of freedom itself. You've become a walking portal to possibility, a living gateway to the infinite. And everyone who encounters you feels it, even if minds can't comprehend it. Bodies know, souls recognize, hearts remember, even while minds scramble to rationalize and categorize something that exists beyond all categories. Hold that thought for a moment. I need your attention for something very important. We're revealing everything we know about personal power, healing yourself, and healing others through weekly Zoom call. No filters, no holding back. We have been quietly adding all the occult secrets we've collected over literal years of spiritual practice. The techniques and wisdom that transformed us from controlled pawns into conscious creators are now available to those ready to walk the same path. This is your invitation to join Obsidian Inner Order and support our platform so we can continue growing our megaphone to reach other chosen ones waiting for activation. By joining the Obsidian Inner Order, you're not just gaining access to forbidden knowledge, you're becoming part of a movement that's rewriting reality itself. It's a 360 win for all of us. Link is in the description. Welcome to the other side of the simulation. Please welcome to life beyond the matrix. Welcome to what happens when someone remembers who they really are and refuses to forget again. This is what chosen really means. Not special, not superior, just awake, fully, irreversibly, magnificently awake. And now that you're awake, now that you remember, now that you've accessed your real power, the simulation will never be the same. Everyone asked what's going on. You're what's going on. You've always been what's going on. Everyone's just finally starting to notice. And that noticing, that recognition, that inability to look away or explain or understand, that's the real transformation. Not just yours, but the transformation you've triggered in the fabric of reality itself. You are the event everyone's trying to understand. You are the disruption everyone felt coming. You are the change everyone feared and desired in equal measure. And this is just your beginning, because someone who's learned to transform once at this level never stops transforming. Someone who's tasted this kind of freedom never goes back to prison. Someone who's remembered their true nature never forgets again. The question isn't what's going on anymore. The question is what's coming next. And only you know the answer to that. Only you can feel the next evolution stirring within you. Only you can sense the next level calling your name. Everyone else will just have to watch, wonder, and try to keep up with whatever reality-bending thing you do next. Because one thing is certain, you're not done yet. You're never done. You're in permanent becoming, and that's the most terrifying and beautiful thing anyone has ever witnessed.